shit. So in the spirit world, it's funny when you come with the old shit. You get what I'm saying? It's constantly, that's what the word alchemy is, change.
Right.
So we need to understand and access these things. These gods, and this will lead me, the word change and how we should think about it is basically your mindset.
Yeah.
This is about changing the mindset. So what I hope, when I took my notes on Kundalini to make certain points, and what I hope this would help you with a mindset, not my mindset, but help you to understand a certain kind of mindset that you need to develop on your own to have full benefit of what's happening now, in time spiritual events.
Right.
So it's very key to listen and understand this to come up with your own perspective. Now, change. Now, this is what's going on. This is just one of the things that came through as a channel, which is an end time spiritual event to tell and to tell you what is actually going on in the spirit world and how we are progressing, as opposed to focusing on the Illuminati and whatever ill you can think of the day. Instead of focusing on that, focusing on our story. Now, this was interesting. A young lady was texting me from the UK one night. This is maybe about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks. And as she's texting me, she was telling me she wanted to get the psychomancy book that I sell. No problem. But this was about the third or fourth time her telling me this. So I'm like, well, when you get it, you get it. But as she's texting me for this third time, Mahalia Jackson starts coming through. So I'm like, what the fuck is Mahalia Jackson? Now, you would constantly think, I'm not from the era of Mahalia Jackson. My grandmother is. And my grandmother, like her, played the records. Now, as she's texting me and I'm feeling Mahalia, I'm turning the channel and Jungle Fever is on. Now, if you remember in the movie Jungle Fever, Ozzie Davis was a Mahalia Jackson freak, if you will.
Yes, yes.
It was all about him and Mahalia Jackson, which for the most part, that's how people deal with Mahalia Jackson. She is the absolute goddess of the gospel,
Yeah.
Mahalia. So I asked the girl in text, do you listen to Mahalia Jackson? She was like, yeah. I said, do you have a connection with Mahalia Jackson? The girl said, yeah, I do gospel music. I have a whole gospel choir. I said, oh, okay. So first and foremost with her, I said, well, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to send you the book for free. Because I know what it was. It's Mahalia Jackson that we're dealing with here.
Right.
That given this information, or this conscious information, was actually coming from, it's through this particular young lady, the Mahalia Jackson energy could rise. Now, what does that mean? Later on, when I got deeper with Mahalia, this is what she revealed to me after I shared some stuff with Bobby and Miss Blue, and we kind of all put it together. What I did notice was, like you'll see on Facebook, that Christians actually now come for this metaphysical understanding. Now, this is weird. In the day of Bobby, when it was the lecture circuit, it was the conscious versus the dead. There was no such thing as getting a Christian, sharing anything with Christian. It was let the dead lie with the dead. Now, what I did notice since the internet, because there's just such a vast amount of conscious information available, undeniable. In fact, I have a cousin who's in hardcore church, and she wrote, I listen, I understand, and I know what Bobby Hemmett is saying, but I'm going to still pray for him. God damn. I said, so in other words, they're at a point where the logic, they cannot, this blind faith thing is drying up. Just believe because you believe is drying up. There's too much metaphysical information. For most of them, the metaphysical information has not done enough based upon their understanding to change them, even though some have. Most of it, they'll use it to have now form a logical understanding of that same Christian reality that they believe in.
Yes.
So now, with that being said, Christianity creates its own dimension. So when most folks die because they believe with this blind faith, they are actually swept in that particular, what is actually, you could say, hell, or a hellish dimension, a lower dimension, a dimension of being trapped based upon any religious, which means the bind. Any religious thing that you're in, you're binding yourself to that reality. Now, Christianity was built upon blind faith. So the blind faith and the idiots you see down here are only second to the spiritual resonance that this energy has. You following what I'm saying?
Right, yes.
In other words, Christianity has made a spiritual impact, and that impact is now feeding the humans. Because as a human, you may be born into it based upon your parents, and now everything you feel, because you can talk to a Christian and they'll tell you, I prayed and this happened. I did this and that happened. And that will happen because they showed you that in Perseus, the last Clash of the Titans. The God said, we feed off of their prayers.
Right.
But they were saying that we're going to take responsibility and become gods. That's the difference here. So now this realm that exists, it actually works for it. We work for it. Well, Christians work for it, and it works for us. Now, this realm was made upon blind faith. And now that you have Christians who are dealing with metaphysics and the occult, even to have to factor it in, not necessarily understand it and walk around and say motherfucking hotep, but the fact that they have to factor it in, and it's no longer just blind faith, the spiritual hold of Christianity on niggas is now drying up. This then would make people like Mahalia Jackson, who are goddesses but locked down in that same Christianity prison or box, even if you wouldn't say her, the mere fact that all of these niggers put her in that box as the queen of gospel, she gets caught or pulled, or her energy gets locked down in a realm. That particular realm was based upon faith, which it is drying up. So powerful goddesses like Mahalia Jackson are being freed on that certain level. Now she needs consciousness, and she's going to know who to come to for it. I.e., so I know Mahalia coming through this woman, Mahalia can come through this woman because this particular woman is a gospel singer. That's what Mahalia knows.
Right.
But this particular woman who's a gospel singer is still personally looking for a certain amount of consciousness. So Mahalia is in that same boat. She's been locked into this gospel thing, and basically you forget when you're in those realms. It becomes your ceiling, your heaven. She's now at a point where the faith thing is drying that realm up, and she's now needing consciousness to be free, which will work through this woman in other ways, of course. So symbolically, me giving it to her is actually giving it to Mahalia. Now, Mahalia also was talking about Kirk Franklin. Now, I couldn't figure this shit out for the life of me. So the first thing I said, well, maybe she raised up a Kirk Franklin thing. But this is what I couldn't put that together until I got on the phone with Bobby. When I got on the phone with Bobby, he said she did an album with, what did he say, Duke Ellington or Count Basie? I think it was Duke Ellington. And Duke Ellington was doing this album. He said, my life would not be complete until I do some shit with Mahalia. Begged and I heard he begged and scraped to get Mahalia, which you got to remember, Mahalia would not do secular music or necessarily do secular music. And so he finally got her, and they did an album. As she told me to listen to her music, I was clear on the fact that I was supposed to listen to this album.
Right.
Because it, like Kirk Franklin, which she represented, would take her, this is a thing she did that got her out of her box at that time. Kirk Franklin, as corny as all of that shit is, he still took secular music, mixed it with the gospel, and no matter how you like it or whatever low level it's on, it's a form of alchemy and a form of change. So basically, Mahalia, by empowering her, by empowering her, as she goes to the next level, a certain energy that follows her. Now, you got to be clear, too, and this was coming from Bobby. He was like, people put Mahalia in that box, but you can listen to her and forget that this is a gospel singer, her power. But by putting her in that box, it puts her in that area. So all of this to say two things. That Christianity thing that we all bothered by and we crying with the Pope, to see it change on earth, it must start in the spiritual realm first, in the etheric realm. It starts there first, then the change trickles down to earth. So dealing with end-time spiritual events, what I'm telling you right now, coming from Mahalia, is that Christianity thing is starting to break up. The metaphysics is starting to penetrate. Not in the context that we expect. Everyone's going to be going hotep, putting their fists on their chest and bowing. Who gives a fuck about that? It's the fact that these Christians have to factor the shit in. It takes away from the blind faith.
Right.
So that's breaking up. The second thing is to get with that energy to help is get with Mahalia and I think it was Duke Ellington. I'll find out for sure. But Duke Ellington, you'll be able to Google it, maybe find it on YouTube, listen to some of those, do some of the meditations, and not only will you'll help break through, because now you're putting your energy where it's a gateway to those worlds. So everybody who wants to stop Christianity, stop the ignorance, help out people, here's a methodology to do it. She'll act as a gateway through her music.
Right.
And at the same time, with your energy or your attention on it, it will help to raise that particular goddess up. Now remember, she's a goddess. Help her raise her up to do what she needs to do, because once she's in power, a whole heap of bunch of shit will get done. So, I hope that was clear.
Oh, yeah. Very, very clear. I know there was that album that was done called The Black, the Brown, and the Beige with Duke Ellington, and it was featuring Mahalia Jackson, and that's what you were talking about there.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Cool. Duke Ellington. So yeah, like I said, she used Kirk Franklin because it was with her doing that with Duke Ellington of her time. That was the controversy of what Kirk Franklin was doing in his time.
Right, coming out.
Even though this,
I was going to say just coming out and really playing, because at that time the music that Duke Ellington did was really in contradiction with the gospel scene, and a lot of singers got sort of kind of ousted by going over to the other side. But you're right. Mahalia Jackson was the one who could go over and sing these songs and then come back and sing gospel, and no one said anything about it.
And yes, as you said, they got out because jazz at the time was considered real devil nigger music. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's not hard to tell. Everything was. But jazz even got it harder than rap music. Rap music was easy to dismiss because we use no instruments. But you got people who are using instruments, and so they had to take it more seriously as it came out the pack. Not to mention you have the big band set up. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So there was a whole thing on Channel 13. I seen this years ago about how they not just ostracized but demonized jazz. Ford would come out, and, Ford, the company came out. We will never play this savage music, this jungle music. And they went campaign 4 throws a day of nothing but wholesome music, and you see all the white people doing the fucking twist and all that shit. And then they show 10 years later Ford driving down a commercial of a Ford car driving down the hillside to the soundtrack of some jazz. So it was all hype, as we all know,
right.
But at the time, this was a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
This was a big deal. So now we up to the point where they stomping on the devil's head in church. But she was trying to make that connection, and that's basically what she's trying to do. You got to remember, jazz is the music of